Picture this. You are staring at your heavy, rugged, beat-up cast iron pan. Then you look down at your ultra-sleek, delicate, pristine glass induction cooktop, and honestly, you probably feel a sudden wave of pure terror. It's totally understandable. We're talking about taking an incredibly hard, heavy piece of metal that looks like it belongs over a campfire and slamming it onto a mirror-like surface that honestly looks like a spaceship control panel. It really feels like we're just asking for broken glass or ruined cookware, right?
So, you might be wondering, is this combo just a massive recipe for disaster? Well, if you've been hesitant to bring these two together, you can officially let out a big sigh of relief. Far from being a disaster, cast iron and induction are actually a match made in heaven. In fact, a lot of culinary experts consider them the absolute ultimate cooking combination. But to make this marriage actually work, we do need to follow a few simple rules of engagement, just to protect both your heirloom pans and that highly expensive stove.
Okay, let's dive into this explainer. Today's survival guide is going to cover old meets new, how induction actually works, the risks, meaning shock and scratches, rules for safe heating, protecting your glass cooktop, and finally, stain and scratch repair.
Starting off with Section 1, Old Meets New, the perfect match.
They might seem like the classic Beauty and the Beast, but they share a really deep, literal, magnetic connection. See, the core requirement for an induction stove to even turn on is magnetism. The rule of thumb is, if a magnet sticks to the bottom of your pan, it's going to work. And because cast iron is poured straight from molten iron, it is incredibly magnetic. There are no special plates needed, no weird adapters. Its very molecular structure makes it 100% compatible right out of the box.
That brings us to Section 2, how induction actually works. Let's look at the science.
Look at how incredibly modern these cooktops are. There are no raised coils, no heavy iron grates like you'd see on a traditional gas stove. It's just smooth, flat glass with these delicate digital touch controls. And honestly, that's exactly why people are so terrified of scratching it with a heavy skillet. But that fragile-looking glass surface is hiding some seriously powerful technology underneath. So, here is the crucial point about how induction generates heat. Beneath that glass, you have copper coils passing an electric current to create a powerful electromagnetic field. This field literally strikes the iron molecules inside your cast iron pan, causing them to vibrate rapidly and generate heat. You are completely skipping the middleman of a hot burner. The cooktop itself doesn't actually get hot. The pan literally becomes the heat source. Because that energy is going directly into the cookware, induction cooking is 80 to 90% efficient. I mean, compare that to your traditional gas stove, which is only 30 to 40% efficient. All the rest of that heat is just radiating out into the room, making your kitchen incredibly hot and sweaty. Induction, on the other hand, heats up incredibly fast and leaves your kitchen so much cooler.
Moving on to Section 3, the risks. We're talking shock and scratches.
Look, no relationship is without its friction, right? So here are the 3 absolute fastest ways you could totally ruin your gear. Number 1, dragging a heavy, rough cast iron pan across the glass, that's going to cause micro scratches everywhere. Number 2, dropping that heavy pan, which can literally shatter that ceramic glass. And number 3, subjecting your pan to extreme temperature changes, like pulling it off a hot stove and throwing it straight into a cold sink.
That third risk, that brings us to thermal shock. While your glass stove is mostly in danger of getting scratched, your mighty, indestructible cast iron is actually in danger of cracking. See, cast iron expands when it gets hot and contracts when it cools down. If you blast a cold pan with maximum induction heat or run a blazing hot pan under cold water, the metal tries to change temperature unevenly. That creates massive internal stress, and the iron will warp or, actually worse, completely crack right down the middle.
Which leads right into Section 4, rules for safe heating, where patience is absolutely key.
To safely heat cast iron on induction, you have got to use the gradual preheat method. Never, ever place an empty cast iron pan on your stove and crank it up to high or boost. Because induction is so lightning fast, the bottom of the pan will heat up instantly while the sides remain totally cold, and boom, you've got that internal stress we just talked about. Instead, start on low heat for about 3 to 5 minutes. Let that heat spread out nicely. Then increase it to medium, and finally adjust it for whatever you're cooking. Oh, and always add a little oil or fat before preheating. It really helps distribute that heat evenly.
All right, Section 5, protecting your glass cooktop. Let's talk about the silicone hack.
This brings us to silicone induction mats. Now you might be thinking, wait, wouldn't putting a thick rubber mat between the stove and the pan totally ruin the cooking efficiency? Well, the math proves otherwise. A
A pot of water boiled in 7 minutes and 12 seconds on bare glass. With a heavy-duty silicone mat underneath, it took 7 minutes and 14 seconds. That is a difference of literally 2 seconds. Because induction uses magnetic fields, the energy passes right through the silicone like it's not even there. A proper mat stops the pan from sliding around, it completely prevents scratches, and it actually dampens those subtle little vibrating noises that induction hobs tend to make. But you have to buy the right kind. You are looking for 100% food-grade silicone that's rated above 450 degrees Fahrenheit. And definitely avoid any mats with metallic threads or glitter in them. Those trace metals will totally disrupt the magnetic field and cause weird hotspots. Another super simple way to protect your glass is just choosing the right pan. Check that your cast iron has a nice flat, even bottom without a severe warp. Alternatively, you could consider enameled cast iron. Enameled pans have this sleek, glass-like coating that is much smoother than bare iron. It significantly reduces the risk of scratching the cooktop, but you still get that fantastic heat retention we all love. Finally, Section 6, Stain and Scratch Repair. Let's talk about the aftermath. First things first, before you even attempt to clean up, let's talk about right after you finish cooking. Remember thermal shock? Yeah, it works both ways. Cooling down slowly is just as important as heating up slowly. Do not rush your cast iron over to the sink. Just let the pan cool naturally right there on the stove for 20 to 30 minutes before you even think about washing it. Let that heat dissipate nice and gradually. Now, if you pull your pan away and find a minor scratch or one of those stubborn metallic stains on the glass, don't panic. First, just clean the cooktop normally. Then, mix up a simple little paste of baking soda and white vinegar. Apply it right to the scratch and buff it gently with a non-abrasive microfiber cloth. The baking soda acts as a really mild, natural abrasive that can smooth out the sharp edges of a minor scratch and lift trapped stains, all without doing any further damage to your glass.
So what is the main takeaway here? Cast iron is not fragile, and neither is your high-tech induction stove. They just demand a little bit of respect. Gentle heating, gentle cooling, and careful handling. That's all it takes to protect your cookware and keep both your stove and your skillets performing flawlessly for decades. Because honestly, the majority of damage just comes from impatience, not from the actual cooking. By bridging the gap between old-world iron and new-world technology, you are getting the absolute best of both worlds. Searing heat, perfect temperature control, and incredible energy efficiency. So, now that you've got the survival guide, the rules of engagement, and the hacks to keep everything pristine, the only question left is your kitchen ready for the ultimate crossover? Go carefully, put that skillet on the glass, heat it up slowly, and see the magic for yourself.